Oh, crap. I completely apologize, folks. It looks like my microphone was actually muted. But let me restart. I am Steel Dill, and I'm actually going to be taking over today's podcast since Lanham, like all of us, is volunteering his time for what he can, and unfortunately, he had real life come up this week, and so I'm going to be helping out in terms of the YouTube team and being able to ensure that you guys still get a great podcast. You get to learn a little bit more about all the information for IR36, and that you get to also learn some really cool secrets and meet some interesting people today. So, what I was trying to show you earlier is recently, as you folks know, as a part of our State of the Game, we recently um, came into collaboration with a group called Hammerforge. They are a world building team, and their specific job in our little correlation is to essentially build our world. And in turn, we're going to be giving them some programming assets, something we'll be talking about later. But if you haven't gotten all the details, you can go into the actual forums itself and be able to check out this post. Yep, good to see you, Visto. Visto is actually part of Hammerforge, so if glad to see that you're here today with us on the stream. And like I said, this is pretty much where you'll be able to get our sort of newsletter we put out. This was the newsletter, so you get to see it here. You also get to see these beautiful shots. I was actually there when we took some of these screenshots, and I would say fantastic work so far. But likewise, if you haven't, check out this post and like it also on Facebook and all of our social media. So let's get back, of course, to other parts of the game. Like I said, volunteers, everything's going great. We're still keeping our IRs going strong, and that is what we're also going to be covering this week. Now, with IR36, it's going to be covering two things today. We're going to be covering the Strategist, is a support class, and the add-on system. For those of you who are very big into add-ons, I know myself, I do play World of Warcraft, and so I'm always on Curse trying to get the best add-ons to ensure I'm doing my absolute max output when it comes to anything in that game. And so today, let's get right to it. Like I said, if you folks have any questions throughout this podcast, please by all means throw them into the chat. I'll do my best to respond as we go along. So here's where you'll find the information release right on the front of our page, and we're going to start off with the Strategist. So, a bit about the Strategists. They are a very interesting class, I will say. But what they do is they use essentially their knowledge of battle to control the ebb and flow of the group. Pretty much, they're there to be a group support. It's their job to support allies in a number of ways, and also emphasizing the strategy of the group as a whole unit. Now, this is not what I mean by like raid leads, trying to tell you, the mechanics and stuff. These guys are going to be having actual buffs out there, and also other support abilities that they're going to be using to essentially make the group go better. That's pretty much the entire job of our group support, is to ensure that everyone is putting out as much as they can with a little further due to the support. Now, in terms of they're effective with, they are effective with shotguns. Pretty much just one of their main weapons they're going to have. And also, you're not really going to argue with a strategist when he has a shotgun up into your face, I will admit, and no one will. Their role effective armor is chainmail, and their DE armor is going to be plate. And the available races that can play this are the Ursa, the Orc, the Human, the Lupine, the Gnome, the Dwarf, Troll, Lizard, Ogre, Halfling, and the Jaguar. Their abilities, let's look at some of these. In terms of momentum abilities, we have the Physical Banner. That's going to place a banner at the strategist location. And this is like one of the support abilities. It's going to increase the group's members' effectiveness of abilities being used on hostile targets. So essentially, all the group members' abilities, they're going to get buffed, and just by being around that banner. There's going to be another banner, though, they can place that's going to increase any abilities used on target allies. So this is also, so like if you're doing healing, that's going to get buffed. If you're doing any sort of support to allies, that's going to hopefully get buffed. And if you're just doing anything towards your allies, you're going to get buffed. Other banner, mostly if you're doing anything towards the enemy, that's going to get buffed too. Now, I know there will more than likely be some limitations on some of those things, but we will be, of course, as we get further in, we'll definitely let you know how all that's going to work. I'm sure Leia will be able to give more detail, since he for sure knows a hell ton about this. And the next ability here we have is Full Auto. That's pretty much a channel ability. And it's just pretty much just a rapid fire attack for the certain amount of damage set in a quick succession on targets up to a certain amount of meters. and that's going to be consecutive hits across the. That'll essentially increase by each hit. So as long as you're doing hits, it's going to keep going up, and you're going to be doing more damage. And based on where you stay at the abilities, welcome Hotel. Hotel is also he's the community manager as well. He's David, but Hotel is what he goes by. Very interesting name. We'll have to ask about that when we bring you on. But yeah, as you can see here, we have the it's going to keep going up as you keep hitting the targets. So, and it will obviously, as you level up the ability, I imagine the amount of damage you do and the amount of source meters you have is going to keep going up as well. Now then there's the call to arms, and this is cool, but I like this ability personally. What it does, it's going to pull the entire Strategist group to its current location, out of harm's way, and it's going to grant immunity to damage for a certain amount of seconds. Players, of course, are going to still be able to pull their actions, but I think it's a nice little ability since, maybe your group's in a little bit of trouble, you're all kind of getting wrecked on a little bit. Everyone can just get pulled back into one little area for a little bit, and especially if maybe there's a mechanic out there where it's going to cause a lot of damage. Everyone can just get pulled back in. The healers can throw out some AoEs. Everyone can try and regroup and get all situated. They can go back out and try and win. But otherwise, like I said, the more that ability hopefully gets leveled, the better. Some non-momentum abilities, that's going to be the Molotov. That's going to create a nice little wall of fire at the location, and it will apply a fire DOT, or damage over time, for a certain amount of damage for a certain amount of seconds. It truly depends. Ha! Indeed, Vista, level 99 versus level 3. And then we have the Gung Ho, and that pretty much you're going to be just charging right into combat, and it's going to give everyone that inspiration to kind of go along with you within a certain radius. And that'll be up to, of course, half about the raid for a certain amount of seconds, and it's going to increase combat efficiency by whatever the percentage will be for the ability based on how you have it set. Well, that's going to be kind of interesting. You're just charging the bell, everyone kind of follows around with you, you all get into this big old group, and you just go and kick some butt for a couple of seconds, and then hopefully we'll see what happens from there. We do have some background and lore that you can also take a look at. Yeah, at the end of the day, Strategist is definitely going to be a nice support to have in your group overall. They'll have some great abilities that will help output your group and make sure that you're doing what you are doing, of course, but make sure you're doing it to the absolute best you can, plus a little more. That's everything's going to be about our support. So, quick question. I know I'm kind of going a little quickly. Is there any questions at all with this from any of our current viewers? Alright, like I said, if there are any questions, we'll have them in the chat and I'll get to them. But now we're going to go back to our... Oh, yep, like I said, if you do want to read up on the lore for that, you can easily go there. And also if you want to look a little bit further into class, kind of compare it with some of the other support that'll eventually come out, you'll be able to always continue to do that under our classes. Thank you for that. And so now we're going to be going on to our add-on system. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, I like add-ons. They're very nice, and they're obviously designed to ensure that, for those that want to honestly add a little bit more to the game, they can, and be able to play it the way they want. That's always something I've been very happy about, especially with games like World of Warcraft. It's always been great to have some of those add-ons to be able to just help, figure out, oh, don't stand that, there's some treasure over there, or anything of that nature. But with our game, add-ons are certainly going to have that as well, because we are certainly supporting them. There will be a API that is going to be provided, but we're also going to be working directly with any add-on developers as well, and essentially supporting in their efforts. Because obviously we want to make sure that people, because some of the people, they'll be given some stuff and they'll be free to work with their Magic's control and whatever they can pull on their PCs. But for us, we definitely want to be able to support anyone with their creativity, because at the end of the day, this is a game built by the community in its own little way, and we want to make sure that anyone who wants to, of course, get out there and put their own creativity into it is certainly supported. And so we will also have a staff dedicated to managing the API and also constantly enhancing the in-game interface, and also a support staff that's going to be helping the add-on developer and user communities to use their creations within the game successfully. And now the best part that I think is honestly here is going to be a certification process. That way, you know, because there are a couple of add-on people out there, they're making their add-ons, they're trying their best, but obviously with anyone, they want to make sure that the things that they're downloading onto their system are obviously secure. They're not gonna, just be, secretly hidden viruses design that look like a great add-on. So we're gonna have a certification process that'll pretty much, ensure that people who are putting these things in are, of course, certified, but they'll also be gaining access to a offline development version of the 3D space that we have. It's pretty much going to provide a smaller and more focused, kind of watered down version of the game world, and it's going to be giving them an entire API for development and testing. Thus, it's just going to make the add-on development possible without having to just stand around and go, I'm trying to figure this out. I got this whole thing of window chat coming. Well, obviously servers online, so you have all the output and the input. You're just gonna have your own little place to work and be able to do what you want to do, and to ensure not only do you get it done, quickly, but you're not being distracted doing so. You're not having your guild buddies go, "Hey, we gotta do a raid. Hey, I gotta do this add-on real quick, so just give me a couple of seconds." No, come on, man, we need you. And then you're not working on your add-on, you're raiding, which we hope you do raid and not just work on add-ons, but we certainly want you to be working on add-ons as well. So also, if you are really proficient, you can also become an add-on author. Um, and for any other previous add-on authors that are out there, you're certainly going to be welcome in with arms open wide. Like I said, we want add-on people to be in here, and we certainly want them to make their own add-ons and put their own creativity into this game no matter what. Um, we're obviously going to be working with you as much as possible to ensure your creations are to absolute optimal success and that you're getting the product you want. And we're ensuring, of course, it's absolutely amazing for the game. Um, and like I said, no matter what, though, we will say this. The plans for our add-on development system is to ensure that it's personally one of the most friendly and one of the most best add-on systems for anyone out there who certainly wants to join in. We will also have a couple of external add-ons that are going to be developed pretty much by our staff, and it'll be easier to interact with some third-party software outside as well. So, if you probably have, like myself, I do have a nice Logitech gaming mouse, and we're going to be working on creating, of course, some third-party software so where you can use all of your mouse in-game and ensure that you have access to all of its, millions of buttons that you might have on it, which I'm happy about, and any other devices out there that you might have as well. Um, but in terms, like I said, we talked a lot about modding or add-ons, but now in terms of modding, it's a little bit different. Pretty much modding is what we determine as changing the game's runtime code, and that's a big no-no. We do not want anyone changing any sort of runtime code within this, and if you do, bye-bye. We are not having you. You'll be gone for as long as you live. You're never going to be playing it again. And honestly, clarify. Anything that replaces the game code straight from the website, replaces game files, or attempts to cause the game code to behave in a way that is not normally otherwise possible to standard gameplay, or done without exclusive assistance and support from the in-game provided API, will be against our terms of use and will not be tolerated, period. We are not having that. Because in the end of the day, we work hard to build an amazing game, and we're not going to sit around and let a bunch of people come in and try and cheat. No game will. There's plenty of people out there who have certainly done their purges on their games and done purges on their systems of people who have done this. And we will just not tolerate it whatsoever. Like I said, add-ons, absolutely. We want to have add-ons. We want you to be able to, make things your own way, be able to adjust the UI, adjust, the visuals, have some great opportunities. But in terms of the core game that we put out, no. But we're not having that at all. It's just not going to happen, and we will investigate to the full. Like I said, we have a staff that's dedicated to API. We will certainly have people that are dedicated to ensuring that this will not happen and that they will be banned for life. And that's just the truth of it. Alright, sorry to get so mean, but I just don't like cheaters. We work hard, we pay the money, we want to play a good game. We don't want to deal with people who are, just trying to burn through the game and not care. Anyways, but like I said, that's Information Release 36. You can read all about it for yourself, or if you're interested, you can also go to our forums and be sure to post down. Like I said, you can talk about the strategies here in our class discussion. You can talk about our game systems up in the general discussion. And, yep. for the most part, being able to, we encourage you to go on the forums, especially if questions. I know, like I said, myself personally, I don't have that kind of insight that Lay does. I'm just doing my best to throw out what we can and ensure that you guys get a great hype out of it, like Visto here is getting. Um, like I said, if you certainly have questions or you want to maybe get a better explanation of what add-ons versus modding, certainly throw that in there, and we will gladly do our best to accommodate you on that. And so now we're going to be getting to our next portion here. Oh, whoa. Nope, nope. Alright, forgive me, this is my first round through. So now, hopefully he is available. We're going to be getting to the third part of our portion for today, and that is going to be essentially our man himself, Hotel, otherwise known as David Jackson, the community manager of the Hammerforge group that Sacrament is now working with. So let me see if David, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, let's do a quick. Are you guys? Can you guys hear David on my end? Just make sure.
Yeah, because my microphone's so trash.
All right, I'm just trying to, of course, make sure
Hey.
this thing's broadcasting. All right, awesome. All right, we can hear him. Awesome. Anyways, so why don't we go ahead and why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, David? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, of course you know my name. We started off as an early Gary's Mod map development company. Um, we since went from there. We started into Unreal. Went from Unreal into CryEngine, and we did a little work in Unity. Not too much, but we can get around in Unity as much as just as fair as we can in Crisis, or sorry, CryEngine. Um, we've been doing this for about I'm gonna say about 8 years as far as the more recent game engines that are out there, as far as ones they'll allow you to use. Um, Other than that, if you have a picture of the screenshot,
Um,
Zachary,
yep, let me throw
yeah,
that up for you.
I'd like to just give a couple explanations of what they are and what areas these some of these will be actually in.
Of course, I'm gonna throw it up. But before we get to some of these, obviously people kind of want to know how, of course, we even came to how this whole sort of collaboration
Uh-huh.
came to work. And I know it was actually kind of funny. Me and David were actually the ones who kind of started off the relationship. What happens is it was actually I was on Gary's mod for a little bit, and I ended up running into Visto, one of the guys you've kind of seen in the text chat here. He ends up introducing me to David, in which case we end up going into a 3 hour kind of discussion, or as I like to refer to it as the interrogation. It's kind of discussing, yep, and one of our, me and Visto's connections, Drago. But pretty much we ended up just discussing, and I ended up getting in touch with Lay, and from there on out we ended up just getting to work closer and closer to eventually getting to a great collaboration. Overall, I think, though, as you can see from some of our screenshots, we've done absolutely amazing. Any thoughts you had on that?
Oh, none here.
Alright. Like I said, it is an honor to be able to work with you guys, and you've done amazing so far. Let's take a look. Like I said, we got this screenshot here, Jungle Fever 1.
That area there is actually the path between Blind Man's Reach and High Rise Basin. That little path, I didn't realize at the time when I was making it that that's not actually a path. That's more of a cliff. So I've actually repurposed that picture for the use in pretty much Blind Man's Reach into High Rise Basin's transition area.
Right, and for those of you who are kind of wondering, like I said, we haven't exactly released a rough outline map
Ah,
or any sort of concept map yet. No
whoops.
worries, no worries, no worries. You're good. But like I said, we do have we have released some concept art in those, for, I believe, for those two zones,
Mm-hmm.
and so the whole kind of outline for that area is essentially it's just kind of like this bunch. It's an island, but it's got a bunch of different areas that are at different elevations and different cliffs, and so and then they're kind of it's like I said, once you eventually see the map, you'll know what I'm talking about once we eventually get to a release. But we eventually will be able to hopefully not only release the map, be able to release some of these zones as well for you to see. But there is certainly some zones that'll be connecting to each other, and sort of the landscape will be very similar. But um, Yep, we'll definitely do our best to try and get it to that way. Let me see. So then we have this shot here, a nice little bridge over, I would say, a river.
That's actually the replacement for the pathway that I was making when I
Ah,
realized it wasn't a pathway; it was more of a kind of a transition between continents, and that's the best way I thought it would represent as far as the only crossable path for those two continent areas to be crossable.
right.
Now the bridge is a prefabrication that was sold on the Crisis marketplace, so we didn't actually make that one. The same with the wood logs in the back, but everything else is actually done by hand and done with brushes.
And I will say, it does look beautiful. It's a job well done. And like I said, you mentioned Crisis. So I know we had also recently stated a lot of the times we were using Unreal Engine 4, and we also recently, with you guys, you had actually recommended us into going into CryEngine. Would you like to give a little bit of an explanation on what your thoughts just about CryEngine in total?
In my opinion, it's kind of a personal thing. CryEngine's a little more user friendly. It's easy to use as far as lighting wise and overall texture detail and material detail. From your guys' last screenshots, I think you could see a difference in the as of overall the cube mapping, which is on top of the textures, which actually gives the brush or whatever have you in the game its own little texture and lighting. So for what I'm trying to say of that is if you have the sun, which is at at the 6 o'clock position behind a rock, it would actually give the appropriate shadow. Unlike Unreal, Unreal does not have that sort of option. It has a similar one, but it's kind of a preset shadowing. So you would actually be able to have a day and night cycle with Crisis compared to Unreal without
Right.
making a separate map version of it.
Of course. Like I said, I've definitely seen a difference, and I will say it's an absolutely great difference. I'm sure everyone can see a difference as well. Like I said, if you got any questions about any of this stuff as we're going through it, feel free to post in the comments below. But now we're gonna get to a next shot, and like I said, it's similar to what you're saying about the whole sun shot coming down,
Mm-hmm.
making the cool shadows. We'll see if you get a chance to zoom in. There is some absolutely great detail in these trees, and you said you guys had done some of these trees yourself.
We've done approximately 14 of the trees ourselves. There's a few in there that are the stock trees you get from their uh, their marketplace, but those we use those more for the skybox area, which is pretty much the areas we're going to use to be cutting the zones up into pieces to where you won't be able to actually travel in, but you'll still get a sense of immersion without losing the actual detail in the model or textures.
Right. Fair enough. Let's move on to the next one we have here, and this is a cool shot. You got a little pathway. Beautiful.
That's go ahead.
Hey, go for it.
That's actually that's going down. I know they haven't seen the map or nothing, but just we know this. That's actually part of the grotto. That's going down into that area.
Ah, yes, I know what you're. Like I said, we have a nice little special surprise for you folks on the map as well. Like I said, there will always be sort of these great amount of secrets throughout the world. Not everything is just going to be, handed to you on a silver platter. You're definitely going to have some great exploration options. So consider this a clue to try and maybe find a hidden or specialized grotto. All right, so next we have another beautiful sunshot here that you can see, especially going in on. I love how right around the stones on the right hand corner, how it just
Mhm.
kind of goes off and you just see that great shadow detail. Again,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's again with the difference in the engines compared to Unreal and Cry. It gives you the cube mapping, so it can give you the reflections and the shadowing of the position of the actual sun instead of it just being a static shadow model.
Right. I'll say again, looks amazing. So now we have again this shot. I believe this is a waterfall kind of shot, correct?
That is if that from the previous picture, that is the continuation of the river going on down into a waterfall, which is part of the entrance of the grotto.
I see. So again, another little hint for them in the overall run. But like I say, again, amazing detail. The water does certainly looks. It's got that mist element to it, which is not something you kind of see in some games. You just see kind of water going down, but you get to see the mist effect the whole way. Unlike some games, you just see just rushing water. So I think that's again amazing detail. And then this I'd say out of all the shots, this is personally one of my favorite, just because of the amount of pure detail you can see in the wildlife to the water, and again into all the shadowing as well.
Yeah.
And
The cube mapping for the water is particularly difficult because you have to actually manually add in the reflection for each prop or physical property that the trees or foliage or character or NPC model would have. So you have to actually program all that in.
right, so
Um,
it's definitely tedious in
oh
some
yeah,
cases.
it's very. That's why water is one of the most unused and in any MMO. And if it is used, it looks just horrible because people
Right.
don't actually take the time to, program all that into the reflections.
I'd say here at the Sacrament slash Hammerforge collaboration, you definitely want the water to certainly look its best and everything to look its best in the world.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's our last. Is that the last one? Nope, we got one more. I think a couple more. This is I guess another shot of the river kind of
Mhm.
going down it.
Yes, that's actually more of the grotto we were speaking of.
Ah, so
That's
even
actually
more.
how you would access the grotto.
So this is so all right. So you have to definitely in the world keep an eye out for the little trails, and hopefully you'll find this point, and you can look back onto this podcast and go, "Hey, this is where they revealed the location and all." But like I said, I do like the cool plants that are coming off the side here, and the way that it looks like the water's kind of flowing on down. Like I said, beautiful work there. All right, next shot. Again, and it looks like I would say, is this a shot of a lake or?
That's yes, that's a shot of a lake. That's let me see where that would be located in the actual map.
Of course,
That's a high-rise basin. That's the lake. If you look in the middle, that's one of an interpretation of the lake that is in the middle of it. The trees and stuff are not final; those are just placeholders because of the actual environment that we were told by Lay that he wanted there.
of
Um,
course,
because those trees wouldn't be native to that area, but we just use them for placeholders for now until we get the actual resource we need to put in there.
of course, makes sense. And like I said, I imagine this is probably the main lake that people have kind of seen in the concept art, where
Yes.
it's the main lake that kind of shoots off, and you have all these rivers kind of just sending the water down to the ocean. And would that is this the lake that it refers to in that concept, or is this a?
Yes.
All right,
That's yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's the overall lake's going to actually be bigger in the final edit. It's just we just wanted to kind of give it a simple design for now until we got all the resources we need to actually continue on.
all right. Well, thank you, Golden Hair. It definitely does look realistic overall. At least I thought it was real life there for a second. It looked really good. And then looks like we're back at number one. Like I say, if you folks want to see these screenshots for yourself, you can always go under the media. Oh, class is trying to jump back at me, and go to in-game art, and that's where you can be able to view everything. And you can also view the concept art for some of these zones as well under our nice concept art section. See all of the concept art. There are a fantastically, an absolutely amazing artist have done since I believe beginning of last year. Yeah, beginning of last year. They've been putting out some amazing stuff. And like I said, here's two of the zones you can see. This is the high-rise basin. And so now you can have a general idea of where all this water is coming from. So, likewise, anything else in terms of Hammerford? Like, I gotta ask, what are you guys hoping for the future? Just with all the map, with the world and everything about it.
Well, we're eventually gonna try to get into where people could outsource their world building to us, and they could focus more on their character creation, menu creation, balancing, and all that. To pretty much where they don't have to worry about the world, and they can just get their base of the game down and just leave all their pretty much all the troubles of the world to us. Um, we don't do the architecture for stuff, which is usually just a request by whoever we're working for at the time. Um, but we do architecture, so if that ever comes up to a thing, we can always do that. But our end goal is to just be a company to where you can to where larger game companies can outsource their worlds to us. We'd make it for them while they concentrate on more important stuff.
Certainly. Like I said, I definitely hope you guys, with the work you're doing here at Sacrament, definitely get the opportunity. Um, that was a clarification because I know probably some people are wondering, how long have you guys been doing this for, and how long have you been involved in overall world building?
Um, Professionally, probably about 5 years. As a hobby, since oh man, I'm 31 and I started doing this when I was 15. So there you go.
So you've certainly had a lot of experience out there with all sorts of different engines and all sorts of different worlds, I imagine.
Correct. One of the first games we actually worked on was a game called Wolfram 2, which for graphics now looks completely trashed, but at the time when it was released, it was actually a one of the first multiplayer. What do you call it? PvP tank PvP game.
Ah, it's kind of
You
like some of
it's
those
kind of
other tank games online you'll see nowadays.
yeah, it's kind of like World of Tanks, but there was only two classes. But other than that, that was one of our main things we did. Um, we did get into using the Hammer engine, or as you guys will know it, as the Half-Life engine editor. We do, and we've been doing Half-Life maps for probably since they released the engine to be used by the general public.
Certainly. Um, yeah, you guys definitely have some great experience. We're definitely happy to have you guys here. Um, for our viewers, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them on in while we have David here. And one other kind of final question. Out of everything you've probably had the option of seeing when it comes to Sacrament, is there anything that really excites you about the game, or anything that really just catches
I
your fancy?
Yeah, but I'm because of the contract, I'm not allowed to say what it
All
is.
right, fair enough. Fair enough.
And it would
Um,
be kind of messed up to give it away and when it's not released, and
certain,
just take away from the wow effect once it's done.
certainly. Um, how about this as an alternative question? If you had to pick maybe one class out of the game that you would probably be more interested in, what class would you go for?
Oh,
Like I said, feel free to, if you want, maybe take a quick glance, go
yeah,
for it.
take a quick glance at it.
Try and see. Even myself, I'm still kind of debating. Since I know we have almost 28 classes, probably more classes than any other game
I think
out there.
you guys do have a necromancer class, right?
Yes, that's actually what I'm interested in
Yeah,
a little bit
that's
as well.
that's what hands down that's what I'm doing. Either that or the Oaken right there on your screen right now.
Well, he's a race, but I think you could. I think maybe. Do we have Oaken? We should maybe have Oaken necromancers. That should be a thing.
Yeah, like you can necromance, bring out some foliage back to life, or something. Something weird.
Dead instead of just being a dead tree, you're an undead tree. There you go.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah, Oaken, one of our. I can't wait to see those guys up and walking around. And hopefully they'll be just as beautiful as some of the trees you guys have been building as well. But that all comes down to our team of modelers. But all
Yeah.
right, so I'm not seeing any other questions for the most part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do our nice little wrap out. If you haven't taken a chance, go on down, check out our website, check out all we have down below. You'll see all the links to our social media, Patreon that is still ongoing and certainly strong. Um, like I said, we're definitely thankful for all the support we're getting there. And if you can, for any of you who are watching and supporting, thank you so much. We highly appreciate it. Let's see what else we got. Facebook, Twitter. Definitely keep an eye on those. Like I said, I do want to apologize for our delay earlier. Definitely had to get some technicalities fixed, but also, if you ever want to know, why we aren't starting a podcast right away, definitely check those two. Those will absolutely give you an idea of what we're doing. We always try and stay on top of that. And then let's see. We have been, of course, talking about different positions out there. We are certainly looking. If you are interested in, let's make sure I have the correct ones, because we have been doing a little changing around. So, if you are a creature modeler, if you are a 2D concept artist, if you are a programmer with a programming to C++, if you are having skills in those, please head to our website. We have a volunteer interest form. Definitely fill that out. We would love to have you on the team. We'll definitely be keeping our eye on our volunteer applications. We've certainly getting a couple recently, and so we're always constantly checking. And also, if you are interested in game design, please also go down there, check it out. I recently, not only do I do a lot of work with our video team and also our YouTube team as well, making sure you guys have the chance to constantly know what's going on without having to sit through hours upon hours of um, this podcast and listening to Lay rant for 15 minutes. But if you are interested for a shorter version, we always keep that going on our YouTube channel with our Sacrament Roundup. But In terms of game design, I am also officially recently was promoted up to our director of concept refinement. That's a part of our process for our game design. So we are certainly looking for a couple of people who are interested in game design or are constantly looking to just be a part of the company in some of our other ways that I've listed as well. So, likewise, again, thank you folks for, of course, being here. If you do have any questions on anything, please go to our forums. Best way to contact us. And also a great place to start some discussions. Certainly been looking for a few of those. And if you also have any questions regarding our friends at Hammerforge, I did create a forum post. We had planned to do a video, but we were actually able to get him in today for the podcast. But I do have a post here under general discussion called New in-game art and interview questions. So if you are interested in asking any other questions, just go ahead and post it here. I'll probably do an update to this on the forums when we're done, maybe. But you can go ahead and ask your questions here. We can certainly give them to David, and maybe we'll get him here on our forums and get him all registered, and he can answer back to you guys. But otherwise, thank you guys so much. We're always glad to have you guys watch with us, and keep on going. And challenge is everything.